It's the Boy Junior Show.
Beautiful. All
Start
right.
the recording so we get the recording.
We started the recording, so we got the recording. Cal, welcome to the Boy Junior Show.
Okay,
Thanks so much for coming in. I hope your drive to
oh,
the live studio was quick and easy. The Boy Junior Show is filmed in front of a live studio audience. This is where I'll put an applause sample in here, and we'll hear the live studio audience. So yeah, welcome. Thanks so much for coming in.
thank you for having me. As everyone knows, my name is Cal Churchill, the internet's busiest music nerd. Today, we're going to be talking about the new Boy Junior remix record, Pay Attention to Me at the Reemixes. Now, Boy Junior is a one-person musical project made by Erica. What's up, dude? How's it going?
This is the bit that's going to go on social media.
Goddamn right. That's the only reason I'm wearing this flannel.
Oh man, I need to get that same background. I mean, obviously it's not gonna take but that would be really funny if we do a whole Zoom call where both of us are
Pretending to be
Anthony
Fantano.
fake Tano.
Well, one of us has to be wearing a yellow flannel, the other has to be wearing red.
And we both get bald caps. Actually, no, let's both
Good
shave
Tony,
off.
bad Tony. I think that means we're starting a cult. If two people shave their heads in unison, that's the starting of a cult.
Yeah.
And I'm a pass on that.
I think that would probably be really interesting PR though. Like
Oh yeah, that's bold.
Musicians start cult to promote new song.
Isn't that basically just what Psychic TV did though back in the 80s?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We haven't had a cult story in a while. No, I'm just kidding. I don't think that there's such thing as a good cult
There's no
story.
shortage of cult stories.
Yeah. Well, I'll start off with the usual question. Tell us about the day you were born. No, if you remember.
It was 1996.
Simpler times.
I think that a Schwarzenegger movie was number one because I Googled that one time when someone was like, hey, find out what movie was number one the year you were born and it'll dictate your life. And I'm like, so I'm gonna like be a spy who like has to jump over a moving train? Tight.
I've been training for this my whole life.
Yes.
Tell us about music and what you like about it and what you make and how you got started. And now I feel like this is becoming a run-on question. And also tell us about what you saw the night of October 17th, 2003 that you forever changed the course of your life.
My lawyers have advised me to not answer that question pending further legislation. But as to the music stuff, I don't know. It's just I was raised in a house where music was everywhere because like my dad had a huge CD collection. My mom contributed to a lot of that as well, and I just remember
is that the CD collection that we see behind you?
Oh yes, that's totally my actual vinyl collection, and not Anthony Fantano's room in Connecticut. But yeah, so I like every night growing up, my parents would have music on when they were cooking. So as a result, I was just like, yeah, music's just a thing that everyone's parents are really into. And like everyone's dad plays guitar after dinner and sings songs with their mom, right? And it wasn't until years later I realized how cool that was. Because like every night after dinner, after they'd done dishes, my parents would just sit around, my dad would play guitar, my mom would sing, and they'd have a grand old time.
That's amazing. That's like that's what household bliss is all about.
Yeah, it was nice. And I think a lot of that is that's a big reason that like I don't know, my parents had a really good relationship, and part of it because they just knew how to relax together, and they liked a lot of the same music. And it was just I don't know, I found that like music just seemed like it was always there, and I always was like shown that music was a thing anyone could do. because it
Mhm.
was like my dad does it. My mom
Yeah.
likes to sing, and
Yeah.
my dad had a little home recording studio that he'd like make some demos and stuff with. And because of that, it never seemed quite as inaccessible as I'm sure it does for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because I remember I was 8 years old and I said to my dad, like, "Hey, Dad, can I record a version of American Idiot?" Because I was obsessed with Green Day. So we went onto iTunes and bought the karaoke song,
Nice.
and yeah, and recorded a version of American Idiot. And I made sure that he was standing there with his keyboard to press down to make it do a little boop, so I wouldn't have to swear.
You should find that recording and re-release it. You should
Oh my
do
God,
like an April
I
Fool's
have
Day
searched
release,
for it
and like you should like hype up this like release you're planning on putting out like on April 1st or something, and be like, no, no, guys, I
and just have
swear
it be that.
it's not an April Fool's Day bit or anything. Like I just like I have this great song, and like April 1st just seemed like a really good day to put it out,
Mhm.
and then it's 8-year-old American Idiot cover.
Yeah, I think I named the artist name Cal in Green Day, so that was bouncing around every iPod in my family for several years. In addition to that, like when my dad got like it was 2006, I think, and it was when there were like the white MacBooks that were coming out. Those all
Yeah.
came with GarageBand, and that was when my brother and I just started dicking around nonstop with GarageBand loops. And there's several incriminating things we recorded around that time, including my brother singing a song about like potato chips because I think he was trying to do some sort of rhyme, and Frito Lay was the only thing that fit in there. And I also recorded a version of the Transformers theme. And then the real gold there is when we I had this like cheap little amp, and I asked my dad if he could accompany me on guitar. So there's somewhere on that old laptop a recording of me at like age 12 singing Walk This Way by Aerosmith and Stairway to Heaven. And let me tell you, when they screech in those songs, I went for it. And it's
Hell
one
yeah.
of the most hilarious things I've ever heard. And I'm sure I can find it, and I will definitely try to put it out someday.
That's
But
amazing.
yeah, yeah.
Sometimes
I
I
mean,
think I
like,
think
that's
I
where it
first made on
started.
GarageBand, and like I used to always want to be able to make like full songs with like some of the loops and stuff. And like I
Mhm.
mean, I guess now I easily could, but like I remember when I took a class on how to use GarageBand for a thing at school once. It was like a 1 day course. Um,
Oh, yeah.
and like I like made what I thought was this like masterpiece that had this like just like drum loop and like guitar swell, the loop that just
Nice.
there's
Oh,
like
I
a
remember
ripple
that one.
sweep on it that opens up. Yeah, and like that was like the coolest thing imaginable to me.
Oh, I used that one too. I remember that.
I
Like I
love that. And
made,
now this makes
yeah,
me want to like go around and ask people like, what was your favorite
yeah,
garage band loop or
yeah.
sample?
Holy shit, it's snowing. Sorry, I'm right by my window and it just started snowing and it's been raining mostly, so that's pretty cool.
Oh, that's what we had yesterday. I literally was by the window when it started snowing, and I went, "Holy shit, it's snowing!"
I think that's a pretty universal experience. Like there's just something about snow that like just activates the sort of like little kid brain, and that's fun.
Wow, yeah, like when you drive by when you're driving somewhere and you see horses on the side of the road, and you have to go
Oh yeah, and you go
horses.
horses, or you see cows and you go moo, or you're
Yeah,
dead inside.
you see snow and you
Yeah.
go, "It's snowing." If you don't do that,
Yeah, and as an adult you go, holy shit, it's snowing.
yeah, yeah. Otherwise, if you're not doing that, you're
Yeah.
not fully calibrated in this reality.
More like calibrated.
Oh my
Eh.
god.
I
It's-
apologize to all your listeners on behalf of my terrible pun. Um, but there's going to be more.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's like the GarageBand loops, I think, like really started a lot of people in our generation with like the idea that they could make music. Like
yeah,
I made some like I really wanted to be Daft Punk when I was like 14. So I remember at my middle school graduation, there was like a talent show, and I made this GarageBand loop song and I like performed it like I was Daft Punk at like Madison Square Garden or something. But it was fun, even though it was really just pressing play and hitting a bunch of like virtual DJ effects and
yeah, yeah.
stuff. But
DJ,
it's like,
DJ.
yeah. And just something about
Whoa!
that feels like mind blowing the first time you do it
Yeah,
like in front of people and you see like any response and you're like,
yes,
this has awakened something inside me.
yes, yes.
Also, I'm gonna just yes, there is a little Ernie here. For anyone who's like, is that Ernie's face that keeps popping in? Yeah, it'll appear again. Oh, he just fell down. He will not appear again.
Pour one out.
We're on out for Ernie.
So, do you feel like there was like an inciting incident that led to kind of putting two and two together that you have this ability to like you've known music and music has been like a part of your upbringing and then coupling that with like I've got something to say. Like I want to do this in like a serious way.
Mhm. I think for me, it was just around like late high school, early college, because I'd been in a band in high school, but I didn't really write any of the music myself too much. Like I'd contributed some riffs and stuff, but I wasn't really confident as a lyricist. And then in college, I remember I was in my dorm room and I just started absentmindedly like looking through all my old lyrics and stuff. And I was just playing guitar or something, and I came up with this chord progression I really liked.
Mm.
And I just sort of recorded it and threw some lyrics over it real quick that were just based on some stuff that was going on in my life at the time. And listening back, I was just like, wait, I did this all by myself. Holy shit. Because like
Yeah.
before that, like I'd done some instrumental stuff that I'd released. Like if you go to internalmonologue.bandcamp.com, you'll find my old electronic music, which I don't recommend you look at because it's a lot of it's really bad. But I'd never really I'd I'd thought for a very long time like I can do music on my own with just me, because like I'd listened to a lot of like Prince and Nine Inch Nails, and I was just like, they're one guy. They can do this. I can do this too. And it's like
Yeah.
stuff that impacts me, something that affects me. And I don't know, just the first time I finally did it, that had this feeling of like, yeah, I can keep doing this. And I that year I recorded what would be the first album I'd ever put out, which I put out under the band name Antilock. And it was a lo-fi, very rough record called Pine Street Postcards. But just the feeling of finishing an album was like a, I guess this is real moment where it was just like, I guess I can do stuff now. And from then, it's just never stopped. Like whenever I'm bored or don't know what to do, I'm just opening Logic and messing around and figuring out something.
Yeah. I feel like that spirit of just like creativity and like curiosity with music is really important. And like I feel like that's something that like we both really value and like why
Mhm.
it was really fun to work on the remix album and the original track off of the remix album.
Yes, indeed.
Uh, and I don't know, I feel like that's something that separates um like that can like help separate people who are making music in like this current very like saturated like digital market age from feeling just like overwhelmed and burnt out and like there's no point to creating. I feel like it's
Mhm.
just like about holding on to that feeling of like you go from like making something for the point of like curiosity or experimentation or expression and then like it's a finished thing and it's like, oh
Mhm.
wow, now I can like share this with people. And like that's just what like keeps
Yeah.
me going. I don't, it's just important, it's really important to hold on to, I think, because like I know
Yeah.
I'm constantly swamped with like thinking about how I'm going to promote something before it's even finished.
Mhm. Whereas like I think one tip that like I was reading, I forget who I was reading an interview with, but there was some musician who they were asked like, what's one tip you'd give to musicians? And he said, keep your day job. Have something that pays the bills. Don't rely on music, because
Yeah.
that way it can be fun. If it becomes your job, then it becomes a stressor in your life and you don't want to have to deal with that. And that's what I've just decided to do. Like, I mean, part of the reason I love the current job I have, because it's a remote job. If I wanted to go on tour, I easily could. I'd just be like, okay, I will work during the day, still get paid my regular salary,
Yeah.
and then get to play a show at night, which I'll maybe make some money off of. That's fun.
Yeah.
And I think part of that is just because I've always just looked at music as like a hobby, and a hobby first. And I try to do that with every creative pursuit. I just don't want to make monetization of stuff I'm working on and having fun with be the point of why I do it, because then it becomes something that stresses me out. So I'd rather just have it be fun. And like, I don't know, in every music project I've done, is it fun is the first thing that comes to mind. So if something's like, there's side projects I've been working on that have never been released because it stopped being fun. Like
Yeah.
if I had like a concept I was trying to adhere too closely to, and I couldn't finish it because of that, or I felt like I was phoning it in. I was just like, well, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'll save the instrumental and maybe use it for something else, or
Yeah.
keep it in my drafts folder and figure it out later. Because if it's not fun, why the hell am I doing it?
Yeah.